Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. It's Eric. In this video today, I'm going to be covering the 2020 Alfred E. Smith Memorial Dinner. This dinner it was done all virtually this year due to the ridiculous uh, Jesuit coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. So it didn't really get much media attention. I'm just going to show you the speeches done by Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and you'll see that the Roman Catholic Church is clearly going to be the winner of this quote, election, no matter who gets selected. And it's pretty clear. Like it's just comical how much like these two are sucking up to the Catholic Church in these two clips. And I'll show you a bit of the. Actually, I don't have my screen share on. Pardon me. I put the links in the description for the video of Biden speaking and Trump. I recommend you guys check them out. But I'm going to play these videos in full and make some comments. It just proves to you that it proves like that the Roman Catholic Church is the dominant force in American politics. If you look back into it, they were deeply involved in the creation of the United States of America. It was known as Rome on the Potomac, where Washington D.C. is today. The first mayor of Washington, D.C., Robert Brent, was a devout Roman Catholic who was the nephew of the Jesuit priest John Carroll, who founded Jesuit Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Georgetown completely controls the Senate and the Congress and the White House. It's only like 3 miles from the White House itself. And the Association of the Jesuit Colleges of Canada and the USA is only like a block from the White House. The chaplain of the House of Representatives is a Jesuit, Pat Conroy. I even have a video on my channel of him giving like an exorcism to the U.S. House of Representatives. We see here the Roman Catholic Church is clearly in control, and the 20, and then this 2020 Alfred E. Smith dinner was done virtually due to the ridiculous Jesuit pandemic spearheaded by lay Jesuits Tony Fauci, Robert Redfield, Dr. Tedros of the WHO, and of course Pope Francis, and who is a Jesuit. And on my channel, if you haven't seen it, I recommend everyone watch it. The Jesuit priest, none other than the Superior General of the Jesuit Order, Arturo Sosa, admits that COVID-19 is not an accident, and he says we can't. This won't go away now because there's too many interests behind this. That's a quote directly from none other than the Superior General of the Jesuits. So, pretty clear that COVID-19 is manipulated. But here's some photos of previous Al Smith dinners. Here's the last year's 2016. This is the event where the two quote candidates from the left and the right go meet and make the Pope of America, the Archbishop of New York, laugh. There's Obama there. Oh, look at that. Having a great time. I recommend. This has been going on since the 60s. This event was started by one of the most powerful princes of the church in America, Cardinal Francis Spellman, who I've read quotes was leading CIA missions. It was admitted by E. Howard Hunt that in the CIA coup d'etat in Guatemala, Operation PB Success, that Cardinal Spellman was giving the go-aheads to the CIA. There's 2012, Cardinal Dolan. Cardinal Dolan, he gave introductory remarks at the 2020 Al Smith dinner this year. Interestingly, with the devout Roman Catholic, Jesuit-trained CEO of J.P. Morgan Asset Management, Mary Callahan Herodes. What would you say? But this event shows every year that who's in control. Oh, there's two devout Roman. They're like the governor and mayor of New York, both devout Roman Catholics. Andrew Cuomo, Jesuit trained at Fordham at the Al Smith dinner. Would you look at that? There's just one I want to show you from Bush. Al Smith dinner photos. Okay, this one's the classic one. Look at that. Shaking hands right with the Archbishop. Like literally. Tell you right there that the Cardinals are the puppet masters. They're pretty clear. There's Jimmy Carter and Reagan. Knight of Malta, Ronald Reagan. Trilateral Commission, Jimmy Carter. You look at that, and there's the this was the first one here. There's Cardinal Francis Spellman with John F. Kennedy, who was later murdered by the church for resisting the Catholic Church. John F. Kennedy refused to give Catholic funds to federal funds to Catholic schools. John F. Kennedy said there would be no U.S. ambassador to the Vatican, which was achieved in 1984 by Knight of Malta Ronald Reagan. John F. Kennedy said also that no president should bow down to the Pope in matters of politics. Yet George Bush called the Pope God on April 11th, 2008. It's on my YouTube channel. George Bush, if you read the article, The Catholic Wind in the White House, George Bush is referred to as a Catholic president here. Rick Santorum, actually, who's Knight of Malta, Opus Dei, Knight of Columbus, U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania, said George Bush is certainly more Catholic than Kennedy. Recommend you check out this article here if you haven't read it. But the point being that the Al Smith dinner shows every year that the Roman Catholic Church wins the U.S. elections. The U.S. elections are a farce. The Jesuits control both the quote Republicans and the Democrats. But I'm just going to play the videos here so you can see proof for yourself of how much power the Roman Catholic Church has. Here's Joe Biden's speech. This speech was like 3 minutes long. Well, I would say Andre, the Jesuit. If you on the video I have on my channel of the Jesuit Black Pope Arturo Sosa, he says that we need to make permanent changes. So that's coming from the Black Pope. He's saying that we can't have temporary reactionary solutions to the coronavirus. We need to have permanent changes. So I presume that the lockdowns are going to go all the way into like 2022, especially if Jesuit Joe Biden gets elected. Joe Biden, I'm sure everyone's seen the sex tapes that were just released of his son Hunter, who spent time with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps down in Jamaica, and Hunter graduated from Jesuit Georgetown University. All this information also about Hunter Biden's shady dealings with Burisma, the Ukrainian natural gas company, and Bohai Harvest, Chinese hedge fund, and the subsequent media, blackout of that, which has been pretty interesting. But Joe Biden has openly said that, basically hinting that the lockdowns are going to go on for years. So especially if Biden wins this election, after watching these two speeches, I think Donald Trump is going to be selected because he was sucking up to the church even harder than Biden was, believe it or not. Donald Jesuit Trump from Jesuit Fordham University was sucking up to the church even more than the openly Roman Catholic candidate Joe Biden. So I think Trump's going to win the election, judging from these videos. And this was done October 1st, 2020. But I think the lockdowns are going to be indefinite for at least another year and a half, given what I'm seeing. Well, absolutely. And then think of Event 201, great point, Dr. Savage. Jesuit order equals 201. Catholic Pope equals 201. Jorge Morgio Bergoglio equals 201. Lives in apartment 201 in the Dormis Sanctae Marthae in the Vatican, which also happens to equal 201. Ignatius Loyola, founder of the Jesuit order in Gematria, equals 201. William Henry Gates equals 201. George Perry Floyd equals 201. And of course, the Event 201, attended by Jesuit trained at Creighton, Christopher Elias, head of global development at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Event 201 was named because Catherine the Great rescued 201 Jesuits. They brought 201 Jesuits into Russia when they engineered their own suppression using the Sun Tzu's tactic of the art of war, a book which the Jesuits wrote themselves in 1773, and falsely claimed that it was of a Chinese general of 3,000 years ago. But yeah, we're going to start with and again, this is just like pro wrestling. So we'll say out of the left corner, we'll start with Jesuit Joe Biden's speech at the Catholic Alfred E. Smith dinner. And I'll show you after this board of directors of the Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation. You'll see how much power this group has by looking at the board of directors.
Proudly true to our mission for 40 plus years.
Okay, so here's Jesuit Joe Biden's speech. Yeah, and actually, you see this woman. This is the.
Please welcome.
She's the CEO of J.P. Morgan Asset Management. She gave the introductory little spiel with Cardinal Timothy Dolan. She was praising Cardinal Timothy Dolan for being such a righteous, moral leader. Oh, when he covered up for pedophile Catholic priests in Milwaukee and New York. Actually, you can look up right here on this website here, Merson Law. Look at all these pedophile Catholic priests in the state of New York. Look at this. Look at just in Albany. Look at the massive list. Albany, look. I'm just going to keep scrolling down. Buffalo. I had the article on my channel where the Buffalo police, retired Buffalo police lieutenants even came out and said that they had a policy at the department to never arrest Catholic clergy for sex abuse crimes. You could arrest Protestant priests, but not Catholic priests. Look at Syracuse. Look at all these pedophile priests in Syracuse, of course, Syracuse, New York, named after the Roman city of Syracuse. Rochester. There's a Jesuit University, Lemoyne College in Syracuse. That's where the current commissioner of the Major League Baseball attended, Manfred. Look at Rochester. Look at all these pedophiles in Rochester. There's Jesuit McQuaid High School there in Rochester. Ogdensburg. I used to actually play hockey in Ogdensburg when I grew up in Brockville, Ontario, on the other side of the St. Lawrence River. I even played football against Ogdensburg High School there in like an exhibition game. Ogdensburg Free Academy. Look at all these pedophiles in Ogdensburg, like a city of like 20,000 people. So this is the high moral leadership that Cardinal Timothy Dolan is overseeing in his state of New York. Look at all these pedophiles in Brooklyn. Looks like there's over 60 or 70 documented just in the city of Brooklyn. Maybe even more. It's a huge list. Look, and this is not exhaustive. This is just compiled by one law firm here, Merson Law. But Event 201, Jack, Event 201 was that simulated event that took place at Johns Hopkins University right before the, quote, pandemic started, where they did a detailed coronavirus simulation of a worldwide pandemic. I believe the exact coronavirus title used in that simulation was called CAPS, C-A-P-S. But it was all about, like, everything we're seeing today was foreshadowed in that simulation, talking about the lockdowns, the social distancing, the mask mandates, the joint activity of the military and the private sector, et cetera, et cetera. Shutting down of the schools, shutting down of the, quote, non-essential businesses, essentially forcing Ignatian spirituality on everyone, forcing everyone to shelter in place at home, just like Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order, sheltered in place in his cave when he received the revelations to create the order itself. But we're going to start here out of the left corner, Jesuit Joe Biden.
Vice President.
And then Joe Biden, just to remind you, has honorary degrees from Jesuit Scranton University and Jesuit St. Joseph's University. I already brought up Jesuit connections to his son, Hunter Biden.
Joseph Biden.
Thank you, Mary, for that introduction. Your Eminence, Cardinal Dolan, and everyone at the site of the Al Smith Memorial Foundation, thank you all for having me and for supporting the charities that care for New York's children and families in need.
Oh, really? So I just showed you a list of probably 400 pedophile priests in the state of New York. And Joe Biden's now blowing them up as great moral leaders who care for the children in need. Imagine that. Joe Biden, I'm sure everyone's seen the videos of him massaging the shoulders of those little girls at the White House.
In the name of a good man who believed that faith without works is dead. For we know Alfred E. Smith by what he did. I know there's disappointment that the dinner tonight couldn't continue as normal, for us to sit together and put politics aside for a night.
So if you read the book, The DuPont Dynasty by Gerard Colby, Alfred Smith's economic policies was a big reason for why the Great Depression actually occurred. So yeah, great job, Al Smith, the Jesuit Joe Biden.
Because
chairman of the Liberty League, which openly wanted to install fascism in the United States. What a hero Al Smith was, eh? Knight of Columbus, Papal Chamberlain.
These are difficult times for our country. A pandemic, a recession, a reckoning on race, a changing climate.
Remember, Joe Biden said, you're not black if you don't vote for me.
With each crisis, our faith is tested. Faith in our institutions, in one another, in truth in science and reason. We have to guard ourselves from rationalizing that this is normal and from numbing us to the pain and suffering of so many fellow Americans. You know, too many people woke up this morning, went to the kitchen table, and there was an empty chair where just days ago or weeks ago or a month ago, a loved one sat, talking, laughing, sharing their dreams. And now they're gone, lost to a relentless and unforgiving virus. I know for me, my Catholic faith has helped me through the darkness.
His Catholic faith has helped him through the darkness. Oh, I bet. That's why JFK Jr. called you a traitor publicly, and everyone can see that. It was released by the Freedom of Information Act. Called you a traitor because you covered up the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy, both who were murdered by their own church. Well, I bet this Catholic faith has helped him through the darkness. All that Jesuitical probabilism that he's been indoctrinated with.
As I've had to bury pieces of my soul deep in the earth and eventually found purpose to live a life worthy of those I lost. And throughout my life in public service,
What a clown.
I've been guided by the tenets of Catholic social doctrine that cuts across.
What did you just say there?
I've been guided by the tenets of Catholic social doctrine. My life to live a life worthy of those I lost. And throughout my life in public service, I've been guided by the tenets of Catholic social doctrine that cuts across all confessional faiths. What you do to the least among us.
And again, the gaslighting is incredible. It's not even admitted that like half of these cases, are false positives. The CDC even admitted that only 6% of the deaths in the United States were directly due to COVID-19 itself. Now, an average of 2.6 comorbidities were present for the quote 200,000 deaths. You could recover all sorts of cases. People die in motorcycle crashes and get added to the COVID-19 death toll. Because anyone who tests positive for COVID-19 and then proceeds to die goes on the COVID-19 official death toll. That was admitted by none other than quote Colonel Deborah Birx herself, who had a Catholic priest, Daniel McDonald, swear her in when she became the head doctor on the U.S. government's AIDS task force. Really, she admitted it. She's like, yeah, anyone who tests positive for coronavirus gets added to the death toll if they die. Could be completely unrelated. So George Floyd was added to the coronavirus death toll. Complete gaslighting. I'm sure people have realized that like, neither Jesuit Joe Biden or Donald Jesuit Trump have brought up any real issues about, like, for instance, about repealing the Patriot Act, which turned America into a total surveillance and police state. The Patriot Act, drafted by Jesuit professor at Georgetown, Veet Din. Not one mention of the Patriot Act during this whole election cycle. Zero mentions. No mention of the National Security Agency's totalitarian surveillance powers. I wonder why. The National Security Agency admits that the silver key on its logo represents the Pope's temporal power. What? It's starting to make sense. See, the NSA is acting as the Inquisition and the Confessional did in the Dark Ages by spying on all citizens and heretics without consent. And yet the head of the NSA, devout Roman Catholic James Clapper, commit perjury in Congress, saying that the NSA wasn't operating surveillance programs like this. And why is he completely untouchable? He committed perjury. Why? James Clapper is a devout Roman Catholic. Here's the logo, or here's the quote from the NSA website. Here's the logo there. There's the Pope's temporal power key. I wonder why neither candidate's bringing up the totalitarian surveillance power of the National Security Agency. I wonder why. Here's the Pope's silver key right here. Here's the quote from the website. The dexter and sinister talons of the bird clutch a silver key, the key in the eagle's talons, representing the key to security, evolved from the emblem of St. Peter the Apostle and his power to loose and to bind. It also symbolizes the mission to protect and gain access to secrets. You look at that. St. Peter the Apostle was the supposed first Pope of Rome. It's actually admitted by the Catholic Catechism that the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, is Peter's successor. Right there. You read it on the screen. The Roman Pontiff, Peter's successors. Right there. This is the Pope's. That symbolizes the Pope's temporal power. Why do you think they're not bringing up the NSA totalitarian surveillance powers? Why do you think they bring up the illegal cartel known as the Federal Reserve Bank, which is clearly looting the United States? This period of COVID-19 has seen the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of humanity. Why? Because Jesuit trained at Georgetown, Jerome Powell is in charge of the Federal Reserve, and he just printed like $4 trillion, injected like $3 to $4 trillion of credit into the economy. U.S. billionaires have gotten over $700 billion richer since the start of the COVID-19 virus. The Catholic Church even cleared all of its debts with all the sex abuse lawsuits by gaining at least over $5 billion, according to the Associated Press. And that was a low estimate. $5 billion the Catholic Church got in COVID PPP loans that were meant to go to small businesses. So I'm going to go back to the speeches, but this is also why the Federal Reserve Bank is never brought up in elections, because the Federal Reserve Bank is modeled off of the Catholic Church. This is admitted by a Federal Reserve banker, Jesuit-trained Richard Siren of Boston College, who was vice president of the Boston Federal Reserve, and at one time a special assistant to Paul Volcker. Paul Volcker was a Jew who headed the Federal Reserve. Paul Volcker had honorary degrees from Jesuit Fairfield and Jesuit Georgetown University. But here's what Richard Siren said about the Fed. Richard F. Siren, quote, "The system is just like the church. That's probably why I feel so comfortable with it. It's got a pope, the chairman, and a college of cardinals, the governors and bank presidents, and a curia, the senior staff." I'm just going to repeat that. So do you see how the whole Federal Reserve System is modeled off the Catholic Church? It's got a pope, the chairman, currently Jesuit-trained Jerome Powell, and a college of cardinals, the governors and bank presidents, and a curia, the senior staff. The equivalent of the laity is the commercial banks. If you're a naughty parishioner in the Catholic Church, you come to confession. In this system, if you're naughty, you come to the discount window for a loan. We even have different orders of religious thought, like Jesuits, Franciscans, and Dominicans. Only we call them pragmatists and monetarists and neo-Keynesians. That comes from the book Secrets of the Temple, How the Federal Reserve Runs the Country, written by William Grider in 1987. So why do you think the Federal Reserve is never brought up? Because it's owned by the Catholic Church. It's right there in the Federal Reserve iconography too. They got a big Roman seal right on the reef, and the Federal Reserve building looks like a classical Romanesque temple.
You do unto me. We have an obligation to one another. We cannot serve ourselves at the expense of others. We have a responsibility to future generations.
Really? The Catholic Church ever? Did Joe Biden ever heard of the Inquisition? That's clearly the Catholic Church serving themselves on the behalf of others, murdering people alive for not believing in the temporal power of the Pope. You can look up photos. It's all over. Like, no one even knows that this happened anymore. It's all over the internet. You can see photos. The Catholic Church perfected torture. Look at this. These are our moral leaders. We need to look up to these guys, right? We should listen to these guys and how we should organize our economy. Oh, look at this. They take the moral high ground. Wow, aren't they just priestly, pious, just gentlemanly? Look at that. Unbelievable. And you see, Donald Trump is sucked up to Donald Trump sucked up to the Vatican even more so than Joe Biden. Here's some photos of the Portuguese Inquisition overseen by the Roman Catholic Church. Here's some more photos there. There you can see the friar blessing the whole thing here. You see where my mouse is? Here's the Vatican bishop, probably a Dominican at the time, maybe a Jesuit. He's giving his blessing to the whole operation. Here, this woman and her children are about to be murdered. Here the priest says, "To damn you heretics." Look at him, the man of compassion and mercy, supposedly. So we're going to go back to Jesuit Joe Biden.
And that's the charge before us today. I know it's hard to see it right now. Our problems are so systemic. The losses are so catastrophic. At times, it feels easier to say, we're done, it's over. What's the point? But the American people don't give up. There is no quit in America. Mark my words. One day we'll look back in awe, not at how far we fell, but how fiercely we fought back as a country. And that sense of hope and possibility reminds me of the first time I met Pope Francis
Oh,
in 2013, when I had the privilege of attending his inauguration at the Vatican. When I greeted him, he said,
he was.
Mr. Vice President,
What, do you catch that? Joe Biden, Jesuit Joe Biden was
Pope
at
Francis.
Jesuit Pope Francis's inauguration at the Vatican.
in 2013, when I had the privilege of attending his inauguration at the Vatican. When I greeted him, the possibility reminds me of the first time I met Pope Francis in 2013, when I had the privilege of attending his inauguration at the Vatican. When I greeted him, he said, Mr. Vice President, you're always welcome here.
Mr. Vice President, you're always welcome here. Wow.
When I had the privilege of attending his inauguration at the Vatican. When I greeted him, he said, Mr. Vice President, you're always welcome here.
You're always welcome here, Joe. I expect if Joe Biden's president, he might set the record for most presidential trips to the Vatican. I think it was George Bush who set the record. Yeah, George Bush literally said he saw God in the eyes of Pope Benedict XVI. The pedophile protector, Joseph Ratzinger, head of the Inquisition, former Hitler Youth, Joseph Ratzinger. But George Bush, I believe, had 6 audiences with the Pope. Biden will probably break that record if he's elected. But I think Donald Trump's going to be selected because Trump even sucks up harder than Jesuit Joe Biden here.
He was really sending a message to the world to put out a welcome sign.
He's sending out a message to the world, right? When he supported the bloody neo-Nazi Catholic fascist dictatorship of Jorge Videla in Argentina, that's very inspirational, from Pope Francis. Or when he called the people in Chile who wanted to see the pedophile priests arrested, he called them dummies. Called them dummies. That's really inspirational from Jesuit Pope Francis, right?
Message to the world to put out a welcome sign on the front door of our church. 2 years later, President Obama and I welcomed him at the White House.
And that video is on my channel. The Jesuit Antichrist Pope got a literal 15-minute standing ovation from the entire U.S. House of Representatives. An incredible sight.
At that same moment, we shared a sense of hope and possibility together. And for me, it came at a very personal moment, a very tough time in the life of my family. Our son, Bo, had just died a few months earlier.
This is just empty virtue signaling.
Took the time to meet with my entire family to help us see the light.
Isn't that cute?
Through the darkness. I live in an amazing country. We all live in an amazing country. We're an Irish Catholic kid like me from Scranton.
And again, it was Jesuit Joe Biden with Knight of Columbus Jesuit trained John Boehner, who were behind Pope Francis when he addressed the live session of Congress on September 24th, 2015. John Boehner was even tearing up. It was so pathetic.
Scranton, Pennsylvania, would one day befriend the Jesuit Pope. But
what did he say?
We all live in an amazing country. We're an Irish Catholic kid like me from Scranton, Pennsylvania, would one day befriend the Jesuit Pope.
Aww.
That's who we are as a country, where anything is possible.
Anything.
We care for one another. When we look out for one another, when we keep the faith. May God bless you all. And may God.
And again, no talk about ending the Pope's crusades in Iraq and Afghanistan, which have cost trillions of dollars, killed hundreds of thousands of people. No mention of that whatsoever. You got the current Prime Minister of Iraq, who's literally Jesuit trained. Let me pull up the guy's name. Actually, all you got to do is read the New York Times article here. I have this on my archive.org. But this literally proves, and George Bush called the war on terror a crusade. And do you think it's a coincidence that the leadership that came into Iraq following the American occupation all went to the Jesuit Baghdad College School in Iraq? Really? That a coincidence? George Bush really referred to the war as a crusade, and the United States military has a Catholic archdiocese for the U.S. military, called the Archdiocese for the Military Services. Yeah, but the current vice president is Adel Abdul Mahdi, or the Prime Minister of Iraq. He's the current Prime Minister. He went to Jesuit Baghdad College. And would you look at this? So in the 2005 elections, all three candidates in Iraq went to the same Jesuit high school or the same Jesuit prep school in Baghdad. Isn't that just be a coincidence, though, right? After the American invasion, George Bush signs Executive Order 13303, which robs all of the oil in the ground of Iraq. The only reason the U.S. is still in Afghanistan is the heroin. Literally, you can see photos of U.S. Marines guarding opium fields. So that's why they're there. To fund the Jesuit intelligence agency's covert operations worldwide, drug money. Absolutely, Jerry Eisenhower referred to World War II as a crusade. I even saw this on Netflix on one of their propaganda shows on World War II. You can find the full address on the internet. But Eisenhower, when he was leading the troops into D-Day, actually referred to their mission as a crusade as well. Then, imagine that, like when they sent the American troops just to get slaughtered on D-Day with the well-positioned, well-fortified beachhead of the Germans, really just mowed them down. Eisenhower referred to that as a crusade as well. And Eisenhower's book was called Crusade into Europe. And actually, I'm holding here, I have this on my YouTube page, but I'm holding up my original letter from General Herbert C. Holdridge that he wrote to President Eisenhower January 18th, 1959, called The Pope's Commandos. You can see that right here. Everyone should read this. This is what Herbert C. Holdridge said, former retired brigadier general, just to Eisenhower. Eisenhower was a complete puppet. After this letter, he actually, or in 1958, Eisenhower got an honorary degree from Jesuit Georgetown University, gave a long speech there to honor Jesuit Edmund A. Walsh. And that's on my YouTube, or on my, on my Jesuit World Order blog. See President Eisenhower's remarks at the dedication of the Jesuit Edmund A. Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. Eisenhower, is incredible how much of a puppet this guy was. Holdridge here, this is on my website too. Everyone should read this. You see the Pope's Commandos. Holdridge says, Mr. President, in this hour of dire peril to our country, my authority and responsibility to defend the Constitution of the United States is equal to yours and that of any other public servant at highest levels. Since they all have advocated their authority and responsibility, I have no choice but to assume it. In the name of the Constitution, which you are both sworn to defend, I direct you to take the immediate steps. Number one, quote, to arrest, place in confinement, and to bring to immediate trial every Jesuit in the United States pretending to citizenship in the United States, and every public official who has collaborated with this public enemy on the charge of high treason. So this is what Holdridge was representing, telling President Eisenhower to do. And this is what Eisenhower said, Jesuit Georgetown University. So let's see if Eisenhower got the message. This is a quote from the president now. So to say that I am honored today by the university, Jesuit Georgetown, that I am complimented by its presenting to me its honorary doctorate is a great understatement. I assure you that the presence here of these dedicated men and instructors and students in this audience is an inspiration, a memory that I shall carry with me. Thank you. Eisenhower actually says that he hopes that the number of Jesuit Georgetown University graduates working in the Foreign Service, he hopes that their numbers would increase, which they did. They now have a complete monopoly on the United States Foreign Service. Just look at all the current U.S. ambassadors stationed around the world. Literally over 70% of them went to the Jesuit School of Foreign Service. No exaggeration. Complete control. How's it going, guys? Absolutely. Popes are not inaugurated. They're selected by the Cardinals. Good point. Pope Francis, I know he just nominated a whole bunch of quote unquote left-wing cardinals to make sure that the Vatican stays, openly Marxist communist for the foreseeable future. But Jesuit Joe Biden's finishing up here, and then I'm going to read some of the comments and then go to Donald Jesuit Trump's. Out of the right corner, Donald Jesuit Trump.
We care for one another. When we look out for one another, when we keep the faith. May God bless you all, and may God bless America. And may God protect our troops.
May God protect our troops. May God protect our crusaders. And again, because you can even, it's on my YouTube channel, like, actually, no, this is the Donald Trump video I'm going to show. But I have a video of Pope Pius XII right after, and this was like, it's incredible that no one calls him out on this, because really after supporting the Axis, like really to the T, like giving the Axis his full support, you know, to Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, Pope Pius XII, when the Americans and the Allies won the war, blesses Allied troops in Rome and calls them Holy Crusaders, and says that they can be honored by the Inquisitor Thomas More. Incredible. There it is right there, Pope Pius XII. Hitler's Pope blesses the Allied troops in Rome right after supporting the Axis with his the full support of the church. And this was done by United News Broadcast. So, you know, the Pope plays both sides, you know, pretty clearly. So you can see out of the left corner, Jesuit Joe Biden, you know, sucking up to the church there. You're going to see out of the right corner, Donald Jesuit Trump sucked up to the church even more. So. Yeah, how's it going, guys? Yeah, and just Buddha Girl, this 2020 Al Smith dinner didn't almost get any coverage because of the fact that it was done all virtually. Like usually the Al Smith dinners do get more media attention than they have, or this particular year. Here are some of the old photos. You know, actually, I got my this is on my archive.org page. Everyone should read the book here, The American Pope, by John Cooney, published in 1984. It's a good book, actually, but the New York Times, John Cooney wanted to put in information that Cardinal Spellman was a pedophile, but the New York Times wouldn't let him write that, because the New York Times covers for the crimes of the Roman Catholic Church, and that's why the current CEO of the New York Times, was it Mark Thompson, went to Jesuit Stonyhurst College. Mark Thompson, yeah, and he covered up the pedophile scandal of Jimmy Savile while working at the BBC. So, you know, it's pretty self-evident. But yeah, everyone should check out the book here, The American Pope, starting on page 169. It gives a little history of the Al Smith dinner and how it was started by Cardinal Francis Spellman. And they did this to immortalize Alfred E. Smith, former governor of New York, who lost the presidential election in 1928 to the Protestant Herbert Hoover. Protestant Herbert Hoover married his wife in front of a Catholic priest, received a medal from the Catholic Boys Brigade, and was in regular communication with the Roman Catholic Knights of Columbus as a Protestant. And that's all on like the presidential archives you can find. So here's out of the right corner, we're going to start Donald Jesuit Trump's speech here. Yeah, the 2024 Al Smith dinner. Well, I'd like to think that, you know, the Jesuitical lockdowns will be done by 2024, but, you know, at this rate, you know, who knows? But I think it'll be probably 2020, late 2021, 2022 when the lockdowns ease. But we'll start with Donald Jesuit Trump here.
Profound honor to address the 75th annual Al Smith dinner. For generations, this wonderful
75th Al Smith dinner. Yeah, it started in 1945.
event has been a revered institution in New York and New York life. I fondly remember attending with my father a long time ago.
Oh, well, look at that. And actually, Donald Jesuit Trump mentioned this at the 2016 Al Smith dinner. And Donald Jesuit Trump said that we need to be on guard for anti-Catholic bias at the 2016 Al Smith dinner. And there's some precious gaslighting in this clip. He talks about how the Democrats are anti-Catholics when the chairman of the Democrat Party, Tom Perez, has deep Jesuit connections, according to their own America magazine. Oh, it is. Donald Trump is a professional gaslighter. And you'll see that here.
I was a young man, but never forgot it. This organization's incredible tradition of Catholic charity exemplifies the very best.
Oh, look at that! And I brought up before the left corner Jesuit Joe Biden talk. Look at all these registered Catholic, pedophile Catholic priests in the state of New York. You know, is it like exemplary moral leadership? Look at all these pedophile Catholic priests just in New York State. There's just in a few cities in New York. New York State's a huge state, over 20 million people. This only covers like 5 cities: Brooklyn, Ogdensburg, Rochester, Syracuse, and Buffalo. And, oh, Albany, 6 cities. Dioceses. Look at that. So again, so the gaslighting, about the moral leadership of the church, they always do this. You can, I have the video on my channel. Hillary Clinton did the exact same thing in 2016. I believe her quote was, "We can all be inspired by the humility of Pope Francis." We'll continue here.
A long time ago, I was a young man, but never forgot it. This organization's incredible tradition of Catholic charity exemplifies the very best, not only of this city, but of this country. I want to thank Cardinal Dolan, a very special man, for his extraordinary stewardship of the Archdiocese and for his deep dedication to God and to our nation. I also want to thank him for all of the help he's given me and so many things and so
all the help he's given. What? Wow, you see that? All of the help the Archbishop of New York is giving the President of the United States.
I also want to thank him for all of the help he's given to God and to our nation. I also want to thank him for all of the help he's given me and so many things.
Remember, this clown literally worship, he went to the tomb of Pope John Paul II, the friend of pedophiles Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile, and Father Marcial Maciel, and he literally he just bowed down to the tomb of Pope John Paul II with his Roman Catholic wife. I have that video on my YouTube channel. This guy Donald Trump is such a clown.
In so many different ways. Thank you very much.
Because even his doctor, actually, I just got to show you this dude. Is more Catholic. Jesuit theater here. Trump doctor. So his doctor was even Roman Catholic. Yeah, Sean Conley of Catholic Notre Dame, the United States Navy. Again, father of the United States Navy. John Barry, Irish Roman Catholic. Here, Sean Conley. University of Notre Dame, Roman Catholic. Of course, all Jesuit theater. I don't even think Trump had COVID. I think he was, just lied to the American public and said he had COVID to put more people in fear. Because again, if the president can get it, I can get it too. That's the propaganda value of it.
Cardinal, we very much appreciate it. Let me also thank Mary Erdos and the entire Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation.
You see, and Joe Biden also praised Mary Erdos, the head of J.P. Morgan Asset Management, like $3 trillion in assets, or $3 trillion in client assets.
As you know, tonight's Al Smith dinner is
unlike. And you notice these Roman Aquillas here on the flag? See, these are Roman Aquillas. These are Roman eagles or Gregorian eagles. You see, you got the oldest Jesuit puppet in America, George Washington, right here in front and center. That's why the Apotheosis of Washington at the Capitol building, made by papal artist Constantino Brumidi, has a Roman fasces right beside George Washington. George Washington thought he was the Roman general Cincinnatus. And George Washington plagiarized his rules of civility, decent behavior from French Jesuits. Called the Jesuit priest, Father Leonard Neal, to his deathbed. I have George Washington praised Roman Catholics for their role in winning the American Revolutionary War. Printing George, look at this right from the founder's website. We go back here to Donald Jesuit Trump out of the right corner. COVID equals 19, reset equals 19, agenda 19, NWO equals 19, and gematria. Interesting point. And COVID-19 is the sun card in the tarot deck, and the Jesuit Order's logo is the sunburst. So there you go. So clearly coding to the Jesuit Order. COVID-19, 19th tarot card is the sun.
Like any other, sadly. Our country and the entire world have been struck with a once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic.
A once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic, really? So, if you even look at the numbers from the 1918 pandemic, if you adjusted the population, because the population of Earth back then was only 1.8 billion to 7 billion today. There need to be over like 200 million deaths today to make it comparable to the 1918 pandemic. So it's not even close to a once in a lifetime outbreak.
The entire world have been struck with a once in a lifetime global pandemic.
Hilarious.
China shouldn't have let it happen, but it did. When the virus
Why did Jesuit Anthony Fauci give $3.5 million to the lab in Wuhan, China, Trump? Why did Jesuit Fauci do that?
came in from China.
And again, this
we
guy's
saw
taking orders. Like Donald Trump was told by Jesuit Anthony Fauci and Fauci's superiors, to lock down the country.
New Yorkers
Donald Trump's
respond
a puppet.
with the same grit and tenacity, courage, and selflessness that have always defined this city that we love so much. Doctors and nurses worked around the clock. The heroes of the New York PD, NYPD, we love them, and they endorsed me, so I like them even more. But they are
And to read my article on how controlled the NYPD is by Jesuit Fordham University, the current chairman, Dermot O'Shea, to Jesuit Regis High School. Jesuit Xavier High School in New York City. Look at that.
are great. New York's finest. And the FDNY, the bravest. They are the bravest. They're great. I know them all very well. And other first responders risk their lives to save others. And of course, the Catholic community and the men and women of the New York Archdiocese answered the call and, frankly, answered it like nobody else could. In Catholic schools, hospitals, shelters, soup kitchens, and food pantries, you served with the supreme devotion to your fellow citizens. The Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation made a historic $8 million gift to support the children and the families of New York.
Actually, it was in New York. Actually, this was, let me pull up the email here. The Cerrucci team found this. There was a hospital in New York that actually became a COVID-19 specialist center. COVID-19 hospital. And NY Catholic Hospital goes all Corona hoax. Look at this. NY Catholic Hospital becomes specialist COVID-19 center. You can't make this up. Again, Saint Corona, the patron saint of plagues. Oh. You look at this. This is in Buffalo, New York, where there's Jesuit Canisius College. Catholic Hospital in Western New York will become the state's first hospital entirely dedicated to treating COVID-19 patients, it announced on Thursday. Catholic Health, a hospital network serving the Western New York area, said on March 19 that the Sisters of Charity Hospital, St. Joseph's campus in Buffalo, New York, will become a designated COVID-19 treatment center. You look at that. You can't make it up. They're using like a Catholic hospital, COVID-19 specialist centers. Oh. This is all about Peter J. Doistwick, an ex-Roman Catholic priest, predicted this all the way back in 1960. He said that the Roman Catholic Church will eventually have total control over the medical system in this country. If you read the recent Merger Watch reports, the Catholic Church their hospitals have increased by like 30% since 2001. 30% more hospitals in America today than they were in 2001. More and more, hospitals get swallowed up by the Catholic healthcare giants, and they're, just like other massive firms, engaging in mergers and acquisitions, gobbling up more and more of the market share. Well, actually, I could do some more research into the cigarettes and Jesuits. I know a big Thomas Fortune Ryan, just going back in the day, was a huge tobacco tycoon in America in the early 20th century. Thomas Fortune Ryan, Jesuit trained and a papal knight of the church. And I would say, I know lay Jesuit John Boehner, after leaving his position as Republican Speaker of the House, joined the board of directors at Reynolds American, one of the biggest tobacco companies in America. So they will keep continuing out of the right corner with Donald Jesuit Trump.
Thank you. You showed the world the essence of the Catholic faith. I've known about it for a long time.
He's known
support the children.
He's known about the Catholic faith for a long time. Actually, it just came out this week, which is hilarious. Donald Trump said he's no longer a Presbyterian, but a non-denominational Christian. What does that mean? It means he's a Roman Catholic. That's what that means. And his Vice President, Mike Pence, grew up Roman Catholic and now is an evangelical. Mike Pence's brother, Greg Pence, who took his Senate seat in Indiana, went to Jesuit Loyola Chicago University. And Kamala Harris, Jesuit Joe Biden's vice presidential pick, went to the Jesuit University of San Francisco to study for the bar, and she covered for Roman Catholic priest pedophiles in San Francisco while she was the district attorney there. So this whole, this is literally like the greatest like puppet show, I've ever seen. It's literally WWE wrestling.
And the families of New York, thank you. You showed the world the essence of the Catholic faith. I've known about it for a long time. I lived
Donald
right
Trump's
next
known about it for a long time.
the world,
Catholic
the
faith.
essence of the Catholic faith. I've known about it for a long time. I lived right next to a magnificent Catholic church.
Oh, you live right by a Catholic church.
For a long time. I lived right next to a magnificent Catholic church. As Jesus Christ said in the gospel, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. As president, I want to thank the Catholic community for the magnificent generosity you showed in America's hour of need. We mourn for all of those who lost.
Yeah, by stealing money that was designed to go to small businesses so they could go to bail out their sex abuse lawsuits and go to pedophile priest treatment centers. Thank you, the Catholic Church, for stealing money that was designed to go to small businesses to protect your pedophile clergy. Thanks so much.
Generosity you showed in America's hour of need. We mourn for all of those who lost a loved one, and in their memory, we will defeat the virus. Through advances in treatment, we have reduced the fatality rate by 85% since just April.
And read the Nick's article on Pfizer. You see how Roman Catholic controlled the current company Pfizer is, which has got the big vaccine contract from Donald Jesuit Trump.
We're on track to develop and distribute a vaccine before the end of the year, and maybe substantially before. And I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight, and next year will be one of the greatest years in the history of our country. From the very beginning of our
And this guy's a gaslighter. He said this would be over in Easter. Jesuit Tony Fauci is not going to let him end this year. This guy's a puppet. He has just a figurehead.
Catholics have uplifted and enriched our nation beyond measure. Catholics like Charles Carroll helped secure America.
Oh, he's bringing up Charles Carroll and the Jesuit Carroll family. Okay, they should bring that up, Trump. Do a little history lesson here on the Carrolls. Let's see what Appleton's Encyclopedia said. Jesuit priest John Carroll, who is related to Charles Carroll. There's a statue of Charles Carroll at the U.S. Congressional Building. Charles Carroll, one of the leading financiers of the American Revolutionary Army. You see right here, Charles Carroll. Charles Carroll was a slaveholder, just like John Carroll and most of the Roman Catholics. Because again, you have to realize the Roman Catholic Church was supportive of slavery. That's what. Why do you think Pope Pius IX wrote a letter to Confederate President Jefferson Davis, but didn't even acknowledge Abraham Lincoln as president of the United States? Why do you think that happened? Donald Trump actually has some incredible gaslighting about the Civil War in this little speech he gives here. Charles Carroll was one of the big financiers of the American Revolutionary Army. But here's what Appleton Encyclopedia says: no greater power of combined wealth, intellect, and enthusiasm existed anywhere in America than the union of the Carrolls and the Jesuits in Maryland in the person of John Carroll. Look at that. That's from 1887. John Carroll, of course, educated by the Jesuits for over 17 years at the College of St. Omers in France.
American independence. Women like St. Elizabeth Ann Seton.
St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, she's got a statue at the Congressional Hall.
Founded a movement that created thousands of schools and lifted children.
And actually, I believe the Mayo Clinic, the secular Mayo Clinic, hails this Catholic nun as one of their mentors.
Out of poverty.
Inspirational.
And the great Al Smith, the original happy warrior. That's what he was. He was a happy warrior.
He was a happy warrior.
Created thousands of schools and lifted children out of poverty. And the great Al Smith, the original happy.
Look, how are Catholic countries like Brazil doing for poverty? A joke. Catholic Colombia, Catholic Ecuador. How are those? How's the wealth distribution in Catholic Venezuela? Oh, this guy's such a gaslighter.
Seton founded a movement that created thousands of schools and lifted children out of poverty. And the great Al Smith, the original.
Now, just before I continue with this clown, I'm just going to show you here. There are Jesuit priests in the as in statue form at the U.S. Capitol. Here's Jesuit priest Eusebio Kino, who invented the form of cattle herding, which is very fitting because that's what the Jesuits are doing to the American electorate right now, and really why the world electorate, herding them as cattle and leading them to the slaughter, giving them no options, controlling controlling all political parties. There you go, Jesuit Eusebio Kino at the U.S. Congress. There he is right there. I'm not making that up. It's from the government website, .gov. Be foolish to deny it. And here's Jacques Marquette, a statue of Jesuit priest Jacques Marquette, named Marquette University after him. This statue was given to Congress back in 1896. And the Kino statue was given in 1965, 2 years after the Kennedy assassination, the same year that the Jesuits passed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, passed by Jesuit trained at Georgetown Lyndon Baines Johnson, which gave billions of dollars to the Catholic Church. That was one of the main reasons for them assassinating Kennedy, was Kennedy refused to give taxpayer dollars to the Catholic schools. And here in the speech, Donald Trump brags about how much money he gives to the Catholic schools from taxpayers. I'll just show you here quickly the popes of the Inquisition are literally in the Congressional building. Here's Pope Innocent III, massacred the Albigenses, massacred the Cathars, exterminated them like off the face of the earth. Taught it was launched the Inquisitions, issued edicts saying it was okay to burn alive heretics, burn alive authors, people who criticized the church were sent to the stake. There he is in the U.S. Congress. He's an inspiration of American law. Just going to leave that up there. Grasp the significance of it. See, my phone just died. I'm going to give you a second. And we'll show you here another inquisitorial Pope, Pope Gregory IX, who actually announced that the whole world belongs to the Bishop of Rome. You can find that source in Catholic Imperialism and World Freedom by Abra Manhattan. Pope Gregory IX. Oh, there it is. Actually, yeah, look, relief portrait, architect of the Capitol. There he is at the U.S. Congress. Pope Gregory IX. You can't make it up. There he is. You wonder why the Roman fasces are all over the United States. Also, no, pretty clear. But yeah, as my phone charges, I'm just going to I'll check the live chat in a couple minutes once my phone boots back up here. But we're going to continue out of the right corner with Donald Jesuit Trump.
Original happy warrior. That's what he was. He was a happy warrior. I know it well. I consider myself to be a happy warrior, but it's not so easy in these times. But he was a happy warrior of American politics. He spent his life fighting for hardworking Americans and battling the
really like trying to like break up unions of like working class people. Like what a joke.
The anti-Catholic prejudice that
The
you see
anti-Catholic
even
prejudice. Yeah, this is where the gaslighting gets incredible.
today coming out of the Democrat Party.
So the anti-Catholic prejudice coming out of the Democratic Party. So who's in charge of the Democrat Party? Oh, it's Tom Perez, who has deep Jesuit connections. Who went to Jesuit Canisius College. Tom Perez, chairman of the Democratic Party, graduated from the Jesuit-run Canisius High School in Buffalo and would go on to meet his future wife, Anne Marie Studenmeyer, when she was a part of the Jesuit Volunteer Corps in Buffalo in the 1980s. Mr. Perez holds up as one of his role models the late Jesuit Horace B. McKenna, S.J. He's an anti-Catholic, right? Unbelievable. And Barack Obama, I'm just going to show you this quick clip of Obama. Obama was really anti-Catholic when he said that this country and this world benefit from your Georgetown's commitment to Jesuit principles. Here's to the next 200 years. I'm saying, look how anti-Catholic Obama is here. Then we'll go back to the right corner, Donald Jesuit Trump, and you saw from the left corner from the video I played earlier of how anti-Catholic Joe Biden was, bragging about how Pope Francis says that he could come to the Vatican whenever he wants.
Georgetown.
And Joe Biden was so anti-Catholic to let Pope Francis address a live session of Congress. So like how bigoted of an anti-Catholic thing to do, right? Like, oh, incredible.
I thought I'd say hello and congratulate you on the 200th anniversary of your charter. A lot's happened in Washington over 2 centuries, and Hoyas have always been at the center of the action.
Oh, you catch that?
What's happened in Washington over 2 centuries, and Hoyas have always been at the center of the action. What's happened and congratulate you on the 200th anniversary of your charter. A lot's happened in Washington over 2 centuries, and Hoyas have always been at the center of the action.
Now, lots has happened in Washington over the last 2 centuries, and Hoyas have been the Jesuit Georgetown University Hoyas. Hoyas have always been at the center of the action. There you go. Telling you right there that they've been in control of the U.S. government from day one. They've always been at the center of the action.
Georgetown graduates have gone on to serve as president of this country and other countries.
That's right. The current president, Ivan Marquez of Colombia, or the current king of Jordan, King Abdullah II, or the current king of Spain, King Felipe VI. You know, in the U.S. presidents, Bill Clinton, Lyndon Johnson,
As members of
et cetera, et
Congress,
cetera, et cetera. Just go on the Wikipedia page and look at alumni from Jesuit Georgetown University. You know, the recent dictator of the Philippines, Gloria Arroyo, who looted like billions of dollars from the treasury. She even like taught a course at Jesuit Georgetown University.
even as basketball-crazed senior advisors working down the hall from me in the West Wing. Over the years, you've welcomed countless international students, just as
I'm saying, don't you just see like the fervent anti-Catholic bias coming off of Obama here? Isn't it just resonating with anti-Catholic hate? Like Obama might as well be speaking for, like in front of like the Know Nothing rallies back in Philadelphia when they burnt down a few of those Catholic churches. Like that's how anti-Catholic I'm getting. Like that's how much of an anti-Catholic vibe I'm getting off this, right? Like what a joke.
even as basketball-crazed senior advisors working down the hall from me in the West Wing. Over the years, you've welcomed countless international students, just as Georgetown students are known for serving all over the world. Your graduates crowd the ranks of Peace Corps volunteers. Simply put, this country and this world benefit from your commitment to Jesuit principles,
What?
to being men, and this world bow the ranks of Peace Corps volunteers. Simply put, this country and this world benefit from your commitment to Jesuit principles.
And again, guys, it was at Jesuit Georgetown University where Anthony Fauci literally predicted 2.5 years in advance that there'd be a, quote, surprise outbreak in the Donald Jesuit Trump administration.
To being men
I did a video on that.
and women for others.
Just to play that one more time. Do you see
Simply
that
put-
this is just riddled with clearly riddled with anti-Catholic bias.
Your graduates crowd the ranks of Peace Corps volunteers. Simply put, this country and this world benefit from your commitment to Jesuit principles, to being men.
This country and this world benefit from your commitment to Jesuit principles. Really? Wow. And again, a refresher. The dictionary definition of Jesuit means to be deceptive and to be hypocritical. It says cunning, deceit, hypocrisy, prevarication, deceptive practices to effect a purpose. Doesn't that sum up the entire presidency of Barack Obama? Like the entire presidency of every American president? Yeah, we're going to continue here back in the right corner. I'm just going to grab my phone now here. It's probably charged up. Give me a second. Okay, I got my phone back here. Pardon me. Okay, we're going to continue with this charade.
Today, this amazing group continues that proud tradition of faithful service Your work
Well, absolutely, John. He's reading a teleprompter. Actually, I found interestingly the guy who actually invented the teleprompter, Hubert Schlafly. I don't mean to keep. I don't want the video to keep going too long, but there's just so much information. Hubert Schlafly, the guy who invented the teleprompter, went to Jesuit St. Louis High School, St. Louis University High School. You see, a Jesuit Catholic high school for boys, founded in 1818. See, all the way back in 1818, the Jesuits had this high school in St. Louis. And then the guy who invented the teleprompter, Hubert Joseph Schlafly, went to the Catholic University of Notre Dame. And absolutely, Trump and Jesuit Joe Biden, all world leaders, to this day, just, spinelessly read their speeches from teleprompters. Donald Trump does a little bit of improvisation, but, it's all teleprompters from him at the end of the day, too. And he's told by his Jesuit advisors what he can and what he can't talk about when he's talking. They remind him of what happened, guys like John F. Kennedy,
reminds us of an essential truth. In this country, civil society, and especially our religious institutions, are an essential foundation of American freedom. Our nation is strong because of Catholics and, frankly, of American freedom.
What did you just
Our
say?
nation is strong because of Catholics and the foundation of American freedom. Our nation is strong because of Catholics and, frankly,
our nation is strong because of Catholics. So again, I think that just looking from like the left and the right corner here, I think the right corner, is sucking up to the church more so, and I think Donald Trump will be installed as the president of America on November 3rd, more so than Jesuit Joe Biden, given from what I'm seeing so far at the Al Smith dinner.
people of all faiths. That is why, as president, one of my top priorities is to defend religious liberty and the cherished role of faith and faith-based organizations in our national life. To protect your God-given rights, I was recently honored to nominate.
So I think he's talking about Catholic faiths. So he's not talking about all faiths. I doubt he's speaking, for Muslims there, or for Buddhists. He's speaking about the Catholic faith, pretty clearly.
One of our most brilliant legal minds, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, to the United States Supreme Court, and that was an honor indeed. She is a proud graduate of
An honor indeed to have a servant of the Pope on the court for the next 35 years. Absolutely, right?
the University of Notre Dame Law School, where her professor, one of the most respected anywhere in the country, said she was the single greatest student he has ever had in his class.
She just perfectly recited the Catholic dogma, just so perfectly.
The country said she was the single greatest student he has ever had in his class. We will not stand for any attacks against Judge Barrett's faith.
Oh, look at that threat there.
Anywhere in the country said she was the single greatest student he has ever had in his class. We will not stand for any attacks against Judge Barrett.
So now he's making threats. And think about this. And again, this is another what neither Canada's brought up over the 100,000 SWAT team raids that take place in America every year. Neither Canada has brought up the 1033 program, or how the Department of Homeland Security, which the Jesuits created immediately after the 9/11 false flag attacks. The Department of Homeland Security has given over $50 billion in brand new military equipment to law enforcement agents, local law enforcement across the country. None of this is being brought up.
Had in his class. We will not stand for any attacks against Judge.
And again, these are the weapons that he has to counteract the anti-Catholic bias. Just like the Inquisition, they used the military power of the state to stamp out the enemies of the church. That's what's going to happen.
He has ever had in his class. We will not stand for any attacks against Judge Barrett's faith.
Look at that's a threat.
We will not stand for any attacks against Judge Barrett's faith. Anti-Catholic bigotry has absolutely no place in the United States of America.
Anti-Catholic bigotry, right? We're so bigoted for shunning an organization which supported Adolf Hitler, right? We're so bigoted for doing that. We're so bigoted for pointing out why wasn't Hitler ever excommunicated from the church? I'm the bigot for pointing that out, right? And like we're the bigots for pointing out that it's a crime for Roman Catholic priests to serially molest and rape little boys and girls. Like I'm the bigot for pointing that out. I'm the bigot for pointing out that the puppets in police and the legal system protect these pedophile priests. I'm the bigot for pointing that out. I'm the bigot for pointing out the history, how like even just recently, the Roman Catholic Church was involved in the Rwandan genocide as late as 1990. I'm the bigot for pointing, this out. That I'm a bigot for pointing out that Ante Pavlich was brought up by the Catholic Church, a mass murdering psychopath. Francisco Franco was brought up by the Catholic Church. Charles Taylor, the dictator of Liberia, brought up by the Catholic Church. Et cetera, et cetera. Almost every single mass murder of the 20th century has been brought up by the Catholic Church. Rafael Trujillo in the Dominican Republic. You name it. Adolf Hitler. Joseph Stalin was educated in a Jesuit seminary. Another Joseph Stalin. It's on my website. Joseph Stalin admits that Jesuit priests terrorized him at his Jesuit seminary and inspired him to become a Marxist. And we're the bigots for pointing this out. And again, I'm a bigot for pointing out that the National Security Agency admits that their silver key represents the Pope's temporal power. I'm the bigot, I guess, for pointing this out, according to Donald Jesuit Trump. I'm a bigot for pointing out that the Catholic Church has a monopoly on the Supreme Court. They have 7 open justices that are Roman Catholic. The 2 Jewish justices have received prizes from the Jesuits at Fordham University. And I'm a bigot for pointing this out, I guess. Oh, it's incredible. I'm a bigot for pointing out that there is a Roman Catholic priest, Monsignor Joseph Tiso, that was in charge of a fascist dictatorship in Slovakia during the time of World War II. I guess I'm a bigot, right? Like clearly the Roman Catholic Church doesn't support dictatorships when there's a Roman Catholic priest in charge of a fascist dictator, like a Nazi puppet state. Clearly I'm the crazy one, right? Clearly I'm the crazy one for pointing out that it's wrong that kids get systematically raped in Catholic orphanages. Clearly I'm crazy for pointing that out. I'm just an anti-Catholic bigot, I guess. We'll continue.
America. It predominates in the Democrat Party, and we must do something immediately about it, like a Republican win. And let's make it a really big one. To support the noble mission of Catholic schools, my administration is working to advance school choice. It was my great honor to help the Catholic Church with its.
And you see this? And this is the reason why John F. Kennedy was murdered. Actually, I did an article on this. Immediately after Kennedy was murdered, Jesuit-trained Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was sworn in on a Jesuit missile. You had Jesuit-trained James J. Rowley, who had a Jesuit priest as his brother, as the head of the United States Secret Service the day Kennedy was murdered. That's right. The head of the U.S. Secret Service was Jesuit-trained, who had a Jesuit priest as his brother the day John F. Kennedy died. I even got a letter the day Kennedy was assassinated from a woman, Hannah Erickson, who accuses the Catholic Church and the police department of covering up for the Catholic Church. I got a letter written 5 days later from this same General Herbert C. Holdridge saying the exact same thing, that the Jesuits engineered the plot of Kennedy. You can watch in this speech here that I got on YouTube. John F. Kennedy says that no federal funds will go to Catholic schools. No president's policy should be dictated by the Pope. In addition to saying there should be no U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. Okay, and here's the photo here of Lyndon Johnson being sworn in on a Catholic missile. Oh, right there, a Catholic missile, right there. Look at that. After they literally murder a sitting U.S. president using the Jesuit doctrine of tyrannicide, saying that it's okay to murder a tyrannical or heretical king, that it's a noble cause. That once a king becomes a heretic, you must murder him and replace him with a ruler that is obedient to the Pope, which is exactly what happened with Lyndon Johnson. You can see the exact same year in 1965, Pope Paul VI came to see Lyndon Johnson in New York City. Lyndon Johnson's best friend was a Catholic priest named Munibald Schneider. I got that documented in this article. Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty also gave billions of dollars to the Catholic charities and Catholic relief services, which would now bill the U.S. government over $1 billion a year collectively. Catholic hospitals bill the U.S. government $150 billion a year. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, of course, given the Jesuit sword of Ignatius of Loyola on September 22nd, 1964, for his role in covering up the murder of John F. Kennedy. Job well done, given to him from the Jesuits there. To their puppet, J. Edgar Hoover, and that's why the Jesuits wrote J. Edgar Hoover's book, Masters of Deceit. But JFK said here that if they are going to get me, they will get me even in church, end quote. Right there. I'm just gonna, there's a quote here from the Church and State magazine that I wanna, yeah, right here. Whatever the protests, whatever the problems, President Johnson, Jesuit trained at Georgetown and his administration were extremely proud of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, which John F. Kennedy refused to pass, which he then was subsequently murdered for. At the time, Johnson approved the act. He had called it the most important he had ever signed into law, and they were able to fend off critics on both the constitutional issue and the problems of implementation. The act infused massive sums of federal funds into public and private education in the United States, forever changing the relationship of the federal government with both public and private school systems. Equally important was its long-term impact on the church-state issue in the field of education. By implementing the child benefit theory, the Johnson administration successfully cut through a constitutional thicket, aka they violated the Constitution. Because the Constitution is toilet paper. The United States is in a temporary emergency war powers government. There is no civilian government. That's why John J. McCloy, if you read in his biography, the chairman, John J. McCloy, famously said that the American Constitution is just a scrap piece of paper. Doesn't mean anything. And again, read the Jesuit Patriot Act written by Jesuit professor at Georgetown, Veet Din, which I brought up both out of the left corner and the right corner this entire election cycle. There's been zero coverage on the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act completely, you might as well just use the Constitution as toilet paper after the Patriot Act was passed. I'll just say that. But yeah, I recommend reading this article because you read the quote. I'm not going to read all the quotes on the screen. You see that this act that Johnson signed literally got billions of dollars going to Catholic schools, and Donald Trump is bragging about how he's giving even more money to the church today. And actually, a fun fact here is one of the leading generals of the Civil War, General William Tecumseh Sherman, his son became a Jesuit priest. I got that article up there. But yeah, we will continue here with Donald Trump.
Support the noble mission.
Yeah, I'll put, after the video pop by, I'll put all these links in the. I'll put the links in the description for sure.
Of Catholic schools, my administration is working to advance school choice. It was my great honor to help the Catholic Church with its schools. They needed hundreds of.
Think about the contrast to John F. Kennedy, who said that no federal funds to the Catholic Church, and Donald Trump literally said right there, "It's my great honor to help the Catholic schools."
Catholic schools. My administration is working to advance school choice. It was my great honor to help the Catholic Church with its schools. They needed hundreds of millions of dollars nationwide, and I got it for them. Nobody else. I got it for them. I hope you remember that on November 3rd, but I got it for them. And it was an honor to do it. I did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan and others of your leaders.
What? You did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan? Is that he's taking orders from Cardinal Dolan?
I hope you remember that on November 3rd, but I got it for him. And it was an honor to do it. I did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan and others of them. And it was an honor to do it. I did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan and others for him. And it was an honor to do it. I did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan and got it for him. And it was an honor to do it. I did it at the request of Cardinal Dolan and others of your leaders. They really needed it. We took care of that situation. Very important. We're once again standing with Catholic charities and healthcare providers, such as the Little Sisters of the Poor. We've been with them all the way in this long fight. We are fighting for Catholic adoption agencies and fighting hard. And
fighting for Catholic adoption. Again, this president said that Jeffrey Epstein, who was seen in a photo with Pope John Paul II, Jeffrey Epstein his sundial, it's all documented on my website. You can see the photo. His sundial was identical to the Jesuit sunburst on his Virgin Islands island, or his rape house in the Virgin Islands. Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump said that Epstein's a great guy. He likes girls on the younger side, like me. Paraphrasing, but you can find that quote from the New Yorker in that 2000 article right up. Donald Trump, Epstein was donated to be giving critical funds to Catholic charities down in the Virgin Islands who were doing adoption agency work, adopting and bringing in disenfranchised kids from kind of down and out situations and then raping them and then covering it up. That's what Catholic Relief Services does worldwide. There's actually a big case, a big pedophile case down in Haiti out of the Jesuits out of Fairfield University with a guy named Douglas Perlitz and a Jesuit Paul Carrier, S.J. The Jesuit-educated Douglas Perlitz was raped 100, I want to say over 50 kids down in Haiti, all under the blessing of his Jesuit superiors. And that operation was being funneled through Catholic Relief Services ultimately at the end of the day too. So here's Donald Trump bragging he's going to give more money to Catholic Relief Services so they can rape kids and then proceed to cover it up and get away with it. That's what he's saying. The Catholics, they have an undeniable history if that's what they do, with the money that they receive.
The sacred right to life. Remember that when you vote. That's so important, and so important to the Supreme Court. Every child, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of God. Few institutions in history have done more for New York, more for America, or more for people of the world than the Catholic Church.
Really? So when the Catholic Church did absolutely nothing to resist against its Roman Catholic governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, passing the most intense, you can now abort your baby up to the day of the pregnancy in the state of New York. And they even lit up the Empire State Building pink when they passed these new abortion laws last year, essentially getting rid of all limitations on abortion in the state of New York. Why didn't Cardinal Dolan protest his Roman Catholic governor educated at Jesuit Fordham University doing this? Zero protest. But they're heroes, right, for the cause of abortion.
From the parishes of this city came the soldiers who fought to end slavery, the workers who raised...
I would say that's smart, 86 Tile. Don't vote because you're voting for a Jesuit puppet out of the left corner or the right corner. Either way, you're not getting anyone that represents you. So I didn't vote in the last Canadian election. You had lay Jesuit Justin Trudeau of Jesuit Brebeuf Prep School going up against Andrew Scheer, who was a literal deacon in the Catholic Church and who worked at a Catholic school in Carleton Place. There's no choice.
Raised up the towering skyline of Manhattan, the chaplains who landed on the beaches of Guadalcanal, the nuns who marched for civil rights, and the police officers and firefighters who we love so much.
Play that last part again.
The chaplains who landed on the beaches of Guadalcanal, the nuns who marched for civil rights, and the police officers and firefighters who we love so much, who ran into the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. Now more than ever, our nation needs a renewal of the values this organization promotes.
Oh, did you catch that? More than ever, this nation needs a renewal of the values that this organization, the Roman Catholic Church, promotes. Did you catch that? This guy, Donald Trump, will be selected. He's sucking up to the church harder than Jesuit Joe Biden out of the left corner. I think it's going to go to the right corner in this big theater show this time around. But wow, that's actually that resonates with Paul Ryan, the former Republican Speaker of the House, said in 2017. He said America needs Catholicism. We need it, or America needs it, according to Paul Ryan.
World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001.
We need to bring the Inquisitions back to America. Start just burning the heretics at the stake. Round them up. Bring it back.
Now more than
the Catholic Church says that China is their best. The best Catholic social doctrine is China in the modern world. China forced they harvest the organs of their political prisoners, forced labor camps. Bring it to America. Sorry, my phone died again on me. I do want to wrap up this video soon. Yeah, you know, bring the Inquisition back to the U.S. says Donald Trump. It'd be the good old days.
Ran into the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. Now more than ever, our nation needs a renewal of the
And this
value.
would make a lot of sense. Just I say because I showed you the photos. The plaques of Pope Innocent III and Pope Gregory IX are in the U.S. Capitol building.
That this organization promotes, and that the Catholic faithful live out each and every day in peace. We love the Catholic people. We love the Catholic religion. We love the faithful live out each and every day in peace. We love the Catholic people. We love the Catholic religion. And above all, we respect it greatly. As president, I will always support you in your effort to serve our fellow citizens and to lift up all humanity. I will protect the Catholic Church, and I will defend.
I will protect the Catholic Church. Again, Donald Jesuit Trump said he's the best president in the history of the Catholic Church in an article covered by Crux Now, April 26, 2020, titled "Donald Trump Says He's the Best President in the History of the Church in Call with Catholic Leaders." Says that, and again, he just changed it this week. He says he's no longer a Presbyterian, and he's now a non-denominational Christian, which means that he's openly saying he's openly Roman Catholic. That's what he's saying.
As president, I will always support you in your effort to serve our fellow citizens and to lift up all humanity. I will protect the Catholic Church, and I will defend.
I will protect the pedophile clergy in the Catholic Church.
And to lift up all humanity. I will protect the Catholic Church, and I will defend the rights of religious believers of every race, religion, color, and creed. Thank you once again to the Al Smith Memorial Foundation. God bless you. God bless New York, and God bless America.
There you go. Actually, I saw people should check out. Nick is reading out the Averman Hans book, The Door in the Vatican. I recommend you check it out there. There you go. Like, look at that incredible gaslighting there from Donald Trump. Alfred E. Smith. Just to show you quickly some of the members who are on the Alfred E. Smith Foundation. Here you got the chair, His Eminence Timothy Cardinal Dolan, Reverend Monsignor Joseph Lamort. Dolan, of course, Archbishop of New York, Vicar General and Moderator for the Curia Archdiocese of New York. That's Monsignor Joseph Lamort. John Cahill, Chancellor, Archdiocese of New York. See here, then I'll show you this. This was the introductory speaker this year, Mary Callahan Erdos, Vice Chair, Chief Executive Officer, JP Morgan Wealth Asset Management. You got a bunch of, corporate connections here. You got Chairman, CEO of PVH Corp, Manny Chirco, partner at Davis Polk and Wardwell LLP, Martine M. Beeman. This guy actually former commissioner of the New York Police Department who started this essentially is like an inquisitional style of policing, but the stop and frisk program started by devout Roman Catholic Raymond W. Kelly, who is now Chief Executive Officer of the Guardian Group and former New York City Police Commissioner. Chairman and President and CEO of the Emigrant Bank, Howard P. Milstein, is there. That guy, that's interesting. That's like a papal court Jew connection there. This guy looks a Jewish sounding last name. Chairman of the SGBL Group, Antun Nabil Shinawi, is there. CEO and Chairman of Rudin Management Company, William C. Rudin. Chairman and CEO of Palladium Equity Partners, Marcos Rodriguez, is here. So I'm not going to read all the names. We see some pretty serious Catholic connections here to the Alfred E. Smith Foundation. Let's see if I can just find some of the intro. You can see the Mary Callahan Erdos just sucking up to Cardinal Dolan. I think that was the little clip there. I know Fox had it up. I think PBS has it up here. Look at this ridiculous Jesuit leader. Singing the American anthem in St. Patrick's Cathedral. And again, this Cardinal Dolan said St. Patrick's Cathedral is the spiritual home of the New York Police Department. This is where the Knights of Malta meet, right across the street from Rockefeller Center. There you got the Masonic checkerboard there. 'Cause, you know, the Jesuits created Freemasonry.
Amen. We stand before you, dear Heavenly Father, as
So you're like the introductory remarks. I'm not going to play all of this, but you can see the puppet show is pretty pretty over the top.
God. That's a hope, hardly a boast. We profess in God we trust, admitting that at times
And again, the Pope says he's God. So when they say in God we trust, they're saying in the Pope we trust.
we don't. As we
As
instead
I brought up, President George Bush said he saw God in the eyes of Pope Benedict the 16th.
place absolute confidence in passing features of this life rather than in you alone. And yet never do we betray the faith of our fathers as we turn to you constantly in prayer, asking your blessing upon our country, our two presidential candidates here this
Yeah,
evening,
bless both our
upon
candidates,
those who
Pope
lead,
Francis.
defend, guard, heal, and protect us, and upon the Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation, an instrument indeed of your mercy and compassion, especially to women and children in need. And your blessing upon this evening of unity, joy, patriotism, and recommitment to the foundation, which depends upon the generous benefactors of this annual event. Those
I'd like to thank all of our corrupt millionaire and billionaires in the world of finance who fund our criminal and illegal activities. Thank you.
from the pandemic, or civil unrest, or hurricanes, or raging fires, and those who serve, heal, and protect are high in our prayers as well. We unite those prayers with our Jewish neighbors during their holy days. As we pray through Christ our Lord, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the
Ecumenicism.
Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Well, for those of you just joining us, welcome. Welcome to the 75th Annual Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation.
And again, this Al Smith dinner was done all virtually. That's why I didn't get much coverage at all.
What's the background here? Well, no one
Do
here
they virtually
this evening is
attend?
old enough to remember the 1928 presidential election, except maybe former Vice President Joe Biden. In that year, the immensely popular four-term governor of New York, Al Smith, became the first Catholic nominee for the high office of president. Sadly, the campaign was sullied by anti-Catholic, anti-Irish, anti-immigrant bigotry. And Al Smith.
And again, it's not bigotry. You can literally look in Catholic canon law. A Catholic politician serves his church first, his country second. Just think of that. Think about all the Catholic judges on the Supreme Court. Averman Hatton even writes, he has a whole segment on judges in his book, Catholic Imperialism and World Freedom. He brings up the canon law statutes that show that Catholic judges and Catholic politicians must serve Rome first, their country second. You serve the church first. You know, that's why it's so concerning that now the U.S. Supreme Court is literally a monopolized Catholic. And Donald Trump and Joe Biden, two Catholics, are going to, either or is going to be president, so.
Lost big time. Yet never did he lose his hope, his dreams.
And I brought
his
up how
compassion for
Herbert
those he
Hoover,
called
the
otherwise.
Protestant who beat Al Smith, had married his wife in front of a Catholic priest, and was very close to the Knights of Columbus and received medals from the Catholic Church. You can see a photo of Herbert Hoover with Hitler's Pope Pius XII in 1947. Here he brings out the J.P. Morgan banker to give out some pathetic propaganda. I'm just going to show you this before I sign
It is
off.
so special to be here in your home to so many of the archbishops of New York City. And it's
Just
such a
this lady here is one of the most powerful figures in the financial world right now. J.P. Morgan Asset Management has something like $3 trillion in financial assets. They're one of the biggest, investment banks in the world.
workplace. We're just thrilled.
Glad
It's
you're
really
here.
an honor and a privilege. As we just saw from the video, New York City was one of the hardest hit
She looks like a witch too.
cities in our nation by this terrible virus. And throughout it all, the cardinal, the priests, the deacons, the dedicated laity, they kept working to keep the church going.
And I'll say the devout Roman Catholic governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, trained at Jesuit Fordham University. He did a great job, right, when he sent people with COVID-19 back into the long-term care homes to infect everyone. And he did a great job by putting everyone in the state of New York on ventilators, which killed 95% of the people who went on them. Right? He did a great job, right? Keep up the great work, Jesuit Andrew Cuomo. Says Mary Callahan Erdos.
This home, which is connected to St. Patrick's Cathedral, is such a special place.
I got my phone
Not
back.
just for all of us New Yorkers, but really everyone that visits this great city. But for the first time in 140-year history, the doors were shut for weeks on end. Normally, the cathedral's a special place.
Yeah, somebody looking at your Catholic. I'd say the Catholics were in control of New York even before Al Smith. But I think Al Smith, you could say that's when the control became total. Now they have total control over New York, every facet of New York. Economically, socially, politically, culturally.
Place of prayer and respite for people of all faiths. But you all worked tirelessly to find a way to bring a sense of community and prayer virtually into the
So what
homes
you say? Play the end remarks. Are you saying the Trump's end remarks? Or are you referring to the end
of
remarks
all of
Dolan?
those in need. And even when the unrest in the
Well, I
city
can
this
play
summer
Dolan's speech if
resulted
you
in
want. Just let me
degrading
know, Angela, if
graffiti
you're referring to
at the
Dolan's
very
speech.
entrance to this special place, you led by example and sought to build bridges. One of my most cherished memories.
Absolutely, some dude. The Jesuits were they burned hundreds of thousands of quote witches at the stake throughout the Inquisition. Just disgusting stuff. But honestly, even if you're a mother, just like if you just if they caught you reading a book, back in the Dark Ages, you'd be burned alive at the stake. Only the priests are allowed to read books, especially if it's a book that doesn't say nice things about their god, the Pope. Then you'd be in big trouble. And again, like somebody, I think I showed the photos in this video, but the popes of the Inquisition are literally in the U.S. Congress in bust form. Pope Innocent III and Pope Gregory IX are inside the U.S. Capitol building. They're on the opposite side where the two Roman fasces are, the symbol of fascism in the Roman Empire. That every puppet speaker that speaks in the U.S. House is in between when they're speaking. Absolutely, Robin. Taxpayer funds being used to feed the beast. That's how the papacy loves it. That's how they like it. They want, and they think that they have this set up in almost all 180 countries in the world that they have diplomatic relations with. And again, because the Vatican is a country, it's not the Catholic Church is not just a church. It's a country/church, and there are papal nuncios in 180 countries in the world acting as agents for the Pope in an ambassadorial role. And then through all these 180 countries, the Catholic Church is getting taxpayer dollars given to them by the public treasury. So the amount they're looting from the public is literally just incredible. Incredible. You got places in Germany where you got like the church tax, the Kirchensteuer, if I'm pronouncing that right, the church tax in Germany, which was signed right after the Concordat with Roman Catholic Hitler, Knight of Malta, Franz von Papen, with Secretary of State of the Vatican, Eugenio Pacelli, later Hitler's Pope, Pius XII, who you saw earlier in this video blessing the Allied troops. But in Germany, the church tax, you actually get a portion of your income tax given to the Catholic Church. Imagine that. And then the federal court in Germany just ruled last year that you have no right to know what the church does with your tax money.
of the time was when you asked rabbis.
That's right, because we're Pelagians. That's the Roman Empire never fell. We're all part of the Pelagian class, or in other words, the slave class. And this year, Mary Herodes is part of the patrician class, the publicani, the elite, the aristocracy. The aristocracy serves the real hierarchy, which is the church.
Rabbi Joseph Potasnik and Reverend A.R. Bernard to join you in reminding the people of New York City how to come together across not just
Oh, yeah, then when you say the Red Pope, you're referring to the head of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith,
religious, but also racial lines.
the head of the
And to use
propaganda
faith,
feed.
not violence, as the balm to help ease our pain. Together, the three of you reopened the houses of worship across New York City and of the country. And for that, and so many other things, on behalf of all of us watching, I just want to thank you
You're welcome.
for
Mary.
all you do.
How gracious. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do,
We've
Cardinal.
come a long way because of leaders like His Eminence.
Oh, wow. Isn't that nice? We've come a long way because of leaders like His Eminence, right? Like you got, as you know, Herbert Holdridge mentioned, yeah, people should read the Pope Pius IX Syllabus of Errors. You know, Holdridge admits this right here in this letter to Eisenhower. He says the fundamental purposes of the Jesuits and international dictatorship are diametrically opposed to our charters of liberty and are publicly and arrogantly promoted on our own soil by this anti-American organization. Does that not just explain all the videos I've showed you in this video? I refer you to the, quote, Syllabus of Errors of Pope Pius IX, in which our freedoms are categorically condemned point by point, thus establishing the forces of Jesuitism and Vaticanism as enemies of our state. And he does. People should read that. You know, the Pope condemns freedom of speech. He condemns freedom of thought. You're not allowed to think for yourself, the Pope says. You're not allowed. Not allowed to think for yourself. There's not allowed to have freedom of the press. No. You can't have the press criticizing the church. That'd be too dangerous, right? He actually, in that syllabus of errors, the Pope actually condemns progress. He eternally condemns progress. And right, we can be inspired by the Catholic clerics. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
We've
And again,
come-
that syllabus of errors written by Pius IX. Well, it was written by Jesuits in when Pius IX was Pope, but it was published in 1864,
a long way because of leaders like His
shortly before Abraham Lincoln was assassinated
Eminence.
for wanting to end the Catholic Church's profitable cartel capitalist control over the African slave trade. Lincoln wasn't allowed to break that up.
For
Nope.
understanding
That's why the Pope was writing love letters to Confederate President Jefferson Davis. You know, you can read the letters yourself.
all religions and all backgrounds. A century ago, though, this country had a very different tone. In 1928, Alfred E. Smith was the first Catholic ever nominated to run for president of the United States. At that time, he was New York's beloved governor, 4 terms, in fact. But in 1928, the rest of the country had backlash against his Roman Catholic faith. It was palpable. Many warned that the election might mean that the Pope would run the White House.
Which is exactly what it would mean, according to canon law.
They had crazy fabricated stories that the Holland Tunnel was being built as a secret passageway to bring the Pope from Rome. Fake news way back when,
Did you look at that, eh?
but enough fake news to prevent him from winning. After
Well, he probably did. You know, maybe Eugenio Pacelli took that little Holland Tunnel route when he came to America, right when President Roosevelt got elected in 1936. Maybe he did take that little Holland Tunnel route. Because yeah, the Pope Pius XII, future Pope Pius XII, comes to America, early September 1936, and leaves 3 days after Roosevelt is elected. Much as be a coincidence, right? Though, and they lunched together at Roosevelt's private mansion. Oh, it must have not. They weren't obviously talking about nothing political, right? Obviously, I'd be an anti-Catholic bigot to presume that. This gaslighting. Well, again, I showed you the definition. The Jesuitism means deception and hypocrisy, and you know, hypocrisy is the best word I have that sums up this whole Al Smith dinner presentation.
After Al Smith's death in 1944, Francis Cardinal Spellman started this tradition of lighthearted political black tie
You
dinners
should
to
read the
honor Al
book, The
Smith
American
and to
Pope.
raise money
All
for
that
children in need.
information's in here.
But importantly, without regard for religion, race, or other factors that sometimes divide us. And even more special is that every 4 years, the presidential candidates are invited to come speak at the dinner. just weeks before Election Day, in the heat of the campaign,
Well, I see the power of Cardinal
they
Spellman.
come
Look at these photos.
and offer us a roast.
There he is
They're
with
usually
President
humble
Eisenhower, Governor
selves
of New York,
by the
Dewey.
laughter in the face of what's
There he
otherwise
is
a
with
super
Jesuit
stressful
puppet
time.
J. Edgar Hoover, who received
75 years of
Sword
this
of Loyola
tradition.
in
In my opinion,
1964
that's
after
pretty
covering up the murder of John F. Kennedy. There's Cardinal Spellman saying, good job to J. Edgar Hoover there, with Knight of Malta James Farley, former Postmaster General and the head of the Democratic National Convention when Franklin Roosevelt was installed as the president of Romerica. There he is with Governor Al Smith. Oh, there you go. Cardinal Francis Spellman, Governor Al Smith, Papal Chamberlain, Knight of Columbus, and the Mayor of New York, Mayor LaGuardia. Look at that. I think they even got photos. Oh, there's Spellman. Spellman was the vicar of the United States Army. So your taxpayers got to pay for this pedophile Catholic priest to go fly around on U.S. military planes. Isn't that nice? You can see that right there. Cardinal Spellman was actually, I read you the quote many times. He led the CIA mission in Guatemala in 1954. There's the pedophile cardinal with a bunch of children. Isn't that nice and reassuring? Right there. And you can read the story. The New York Times actually blocked the author from bringing up the information about Spellman being a pedophile in this book. They blocked it from being released because the New York Times is the Pope's, one of the Pope's big journalist organs in America. There's the Al Smith dinner back in 1960. JFK before he was murdered with Jesuit puppet Richard Nixon. Here's Cardinal Spellman, the dictator of South Vietnam, who watched my video with Colonel Fletcher Prouty. He brings up the details and read his book, lots of details on how Romerica and the Vatican installed Ngo Diem in South Vietnam as the dictator, inquisitor there of the Vietnamese people, because they were heretics. They had to be converted to the true faith. You know, them being Buddhists, they were heretics, right? So here's the Ngo Diem bowing down to the Roman Catholic Archbishop, dictator of South Vietnam. There he's bowing down to Spellman. Here's Spellman meeting the dictator of Nicaragua, Antonio Somoza. You can see that photo there. These are all in the American Pope, which I'll link in the description box. Here's even a really good photo of Praise the Lord for Ammunition, and it shows Cardinal Spellman with the bayonet. Here's President Lyndon Baines, Jesuit puppet Lyndon Baines Johnson at his funeral. I recommend you check that book out there.
Special. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from some of those memorable moments of those very special evenings.
The annual dinner of the Alfred E. Smith
Oh, now we got a
Memorial
little
Foundation
presentation, isn't this?
being held this evening in the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel here in New York City.
And that's where Ronald Reagan was made a Knight of Malta, January 13th, 1989, at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. That you heard me right. A sitting U.S. president was made a Knight of Malta while being U.S. president. Does that not tell you that the United States is in submission to the Vatican? Think about that. Ronald Reagan actually refers to the president of the Knights of Malta, J. Peter Grace, as Mr. President. He says, yes, Mr. President. This is the president saying this.
Your Eminence Cardinal Spellman, this gathering has for its purpose a salutation to the memory of Al Smith.
None in our generation more warmly
There's 1954, Jesuit puppet President Dwight Eisenhower coached the Catholic football team. That's all the experience he needed to be the supreme commander of NATO. He coached the Catholic football team.
the needs, the hopes, the aspirations of
Zero
humanity.
military experience, and he becomes the Supreme Allied Commander.
Then did Governor Smith.
Crusader for the Pope during the First World War. There's
I'm
Nelson
glad to be here at this notable dinner once again.
Jesuit trained, lay Jesuit Malcolm Wilson, of course, got Nelson Rockefeller into politics, his lieutenant governor while governor of New York, and Malcolm Wilson took over the governorship after Nelson Rockefeller left.
And I'm glad that Mr. Nixon is here also.
Look at this, decades of control.
Around 4 a.m. this
Right on
morning, the
PBS.
ghost of Al Smith appeared at my bedside, and he said, Mr. President, I have seen the guest list for that dinner too. I can't sleep either.
There's Lyndon Johnson. Gerald Ford, who of course was on the Warren Commission covering up the murder of John F. Kennedy.
And as we marvel at how far we've come, let us also remember how far we've yet to go.
I must say, I have traveled the banquet circuit for many years. I've never
This is the year the U.S. got into full diplomatic relations with the Vatican.
understood the logistics of dinners like this and how the absence of one individual could cause three of us to not have seats.
But America's best days are truly yet to come.
I know some people are going to keep accusing me of exaggeration, so let me be clear. Those people seek nothing less than the complete destruction of the American way of life.
I'm pleased to be here with the Vice President this evening. He's been promising to work harder on getting some of the details right, and I hope he follows through. The other night after our third debate, just as I was leaving, he said, "I look forward to seeing you for the dinner in New York. I'll meet you at the Carlisle and dress as casual."
And you got that George Bush said he saw God in the eyes of the Pope, April 11th,
A lunch
2008.
fundraiser, sport coat for dinner, but it's nice to finally relax and to wear what Ann and I wear around the house. Ann and I
meet you at the car.
There's Barack Obama and Romney. Look at that. You know what this is? They're laughing at hat. The American public are suckers. They fell for it again. That's what this laugh is saying here. They fell for it again. They can't see that we control the whole thing. You know, so caught up in partisan divides, you know, blaming all sorts of other scapegoats, unable to see the forest from the trees, can't go to the root of the problem. They're all preoccupied with the stems. You know, that's laughing. Oh, the American public suckers again.
Ohio, Virginia, and Florida will decide this incredibly important election, which begs the question, what are we doing here?
Look at
that we carry forward. It is often easy to forget how far this country has come.
One thing we can all agree on.
The grand
is the need to
Jesuit
support the
design.
great work.
Bring and again, I saw some dude brought it up here. People read the book. The exact figures I know are in the book. Praise the Lord for tax exemption. Let me see if I can find that quick before I sign off. Because I know this video has been long. Hope you've all enjoyed it. It's covering how the 2020 Al Smith dinner shows that Rome is the real winner of the 2020 election, not you, American citizen out there. You see, praise the Lord for tax exemption. I was going to see, because this was absolutely an agenda, because there's a stat where it shows that the immigration that came into the United States from the year 1800 to 1900 was about 80% or so from the Catholic countries. So, you know, yeah, and some dude brought up how the Irish potato famine was engineered to seed and to seed as many Irish Catholics into America as possible. You know, it's the exact same reason that why like the Catholic Church is against birth control in like very, very poor Catholic countries, because they want as many poor Catholics in the world as possible. Just pop out as many Catholic babies as you can. That's why it's a crime to, you know, access birth control in places like El Salvador. They want as many poor, illiterate members of the church as you can, because like when you're poor and illiterate, you're less likely to leave the church. That's just a fact. So, especially the illiterate part, more so than the wealth. What we see here. Let me see here. Immigrants. Actually, it was in the book Church Wealth and Business Income. I apologize. Same author. I think this was the quote here. I recommend these two books. I scanned them into a PDF last year. Okay, so the flood. Yeah, so this is where he talks about the flood of Catholic immigrants. This is what Hillary said, that, oh, our country has come such a long way because, there's been a long design of the Catholic Church. The Jesuits came into the United States of America under the principle of religious freedom, which again sounds good on the surface, but how can you get rid of the Roman Catholic Church when they can hide behind the statues of religious freedom? You can't get rid of the Roman Catholic Church. So you see here the flood. Soon after, however, the Catholic tidal wave began to arrive. The Catholic tidal wave. This is from the book Church Wealth and Business Income by Martin Larson. Because of the abortive revolution in 1848 in Germany, 2,467,317 predominantly Catholic immigrants arrived from that country between 1850 and 1870, and largely because of the potato famine of 1845 and 1850 in Ireland. 1,694,830 immigrants from that country, Catholic Ireland, came to the United States between 1841 and 1860, most of whom settled in the large cities. And to this day, almost all the big cities in America are all strictly Roman Catholic. New York City, Catholic. San Francisco, Catholic. Chicago, Catholic. New Orleans, Catholic. Los Angeles, Catholic. Washington, D.C., Catholic. Baltimore, Catholic. Miami, Florida, Catholic. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Catholic. You get the point. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Roman Catholic. Buffalo, New York, Roman Catholic. You see, so this is what happened. The Catholic immigrants settled in the big cities, and that's why to this day there's so much of a concentration of Catholic population in the urban centers. Their descendants to this day supply most of the members of the Catholic hierarchy in the United States. See here. 1970, by 1790, the original colonies had grown to 16 states with a population of 3,929,214. And in 1810, this number had risen to 7,239,881, with still only approximately 150,000 Catholics, a total which, even so, represented a quadrupled proportionate increase in 20 years. So again, so just at this time, the Catholics quadrupled their increase of immigrants. Like they're literally quadrupling and quadrupling at this time, the amount of immigrants that were coming in. So after this immigration wave, a mere handful, or I'll read the whole thing. Following 1845, therefore, the complexion of American society underwent a rapid and drastic change. A mere handful of Catholic churches suddenly became hundreds, and then thousands. Communicants, once numbered in thousands, were reckoned by millions, and they became a colossal political force. That's right, the Catholic Church became a colossal political force, widely feared, and to combat which the Know Nothing Party came into existence in 1860. And I think this, was a controlled opposition movement, because again, why would you name, if you're really going to criticize the Catholic Church, why would you name yourself the Know Nothing Party? I'm really saying I'm a know nothing. So I think that's controlled opposition. Actually, great. Yeah, that's a great book recommendation. That's on my. People want to read The Real Lace. Remember, I think I bought this off of Google Books and then removed the DRM so I can put it on my archive.org. There's like Real Lace, The Story of America's Irish Rich by Stephen Birmingham. That's a great book right here. Lots of information on the Catholic aristocratic families, like, the Buckleys, Thomas Fortune Ryan, the Bradys, the McCormicks. The Knights of Malta are brought up here. The Murrays. I'll show you just one little nice gesture the Pope did to one of the Murrays here. After Thomas E. Murray created the 240 millimeter mortar shell, he got a papal knight of St. Gregory and a Knight of Malta. So good job, well done. Job well done. Thanks for creating this weapon of death that we're going to use to slaughter millions of heretics in our crusade during the First and Second World Wars. Thank you, Thomas E. Murray. And this comes from the book Real Lace that I just mentioned here by Stephen Birmingham. You can find that book on my archive.org page. Yeah, I thought it was the other J's that were hiding behind every bush. Right? But then when you look into it, you start to realize, and again, I have that book also on my archive.org page. I've given my physical copy out to a friend to lend to him to borrow. But David Kurtzer's book, The Popes Against the Jews, you see that the Jesuits actually created, the whole anti-Jewish conspiracy movement going back to the 1890s. So I guess the most of the quote-unquote truthers don't really know how big of suckers they actually are when they start parroting all this anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist trash. Right out of the Jesuit playbook. You can see that in this book here. The Popes Against the Jews, the Vatican's role in the rise of modern anti-Semitism. Goes into all the way back to, the Inquisition, up to the Dreyfus Affair, up to, Roman Catholic Hitler, Catholic Mussolini passing their Jewish inquisitorial laws. Maryland, absolutely place over Maryland. It's in the title. That's Jesuit territory. Maryland. I showed you earlier in the video the NSA logo is the Pope's temporal power, and that neither the candidates of the left and right corner at the Al Smith Dinner Foundation or throughout this whole entire election cycle have ever once brought up the totalitarian surveillance powers that the National Security Agency yields, and how it absolutely destroys all concepts of American freedom or privacy in the United States. No mention of it, but you see why, because the NSA, their seal is the papal key right there, the temporal power of the Pope. As you can see the quote. But the National Security Agency has their headquarters in Maryland. Very, very fittingly. Let me see here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call the video here, guys. Netanyahu's I wouldn't say he's a Jesuit. Well, he's a Jesuit puppet. I wouldn't say he's a Jesuit. Netanyahu is controlled. You see, look at him. He's meeting with the Pope. He doesn't bring up how the Vatican oversaw the Holocaust of the Jewish people during the Second World War. He'll never dare to ever bring that up. Neither will any other Jewish leader, quote unquote leader. He'll never bring that up because they're all cowards. But there you can see Netanyahu with Pope Francis right there, bowing down, like every other puppet in this world bows down to the Pope. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there, guys. Peace and love. Namnas. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's the theme of this video. I wouldn't even recommend voting if you're an American in this election, because you're voting for a Jesuit candidate out of the left corner and a Jesuit candidate out of the right corner. Like the analogy, I guess, is would you want me to punch you square in the nose with my right hand or punch you square in the nose with my left hand? Take your pick. That's essentially what's going on here. But peace and love, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on. And again, this Al Smith dinner, because it was virtual, it got almost no media attention. So I wasn't even aware it happened the day it happened on October 1st, 2001. But peace and love. If you are going to vote, vote like Libertarian or some other third party. Get out of the Jesuitical trap of the Republicans and the Democrats. And I would just say with Jesuit Joe Biden, it's really just because he's gone like the real racial social justice warrior, trash propaganda coming out of the left corner camp. But it's really interesting because he says that his Catholic social teaching is guiding him on his racial policies, when it was a Catholic judge, Roger Taney, who actually wrote the Dred Scott decision, which codified blacks being slaves in America. Imagine that. A Catholic judge did this. They even removed one of his statues recently. Like I showed you, I brought up a bit, in this video, the Catholic Church was for slavery. You should read the fantastic book. Richard, I know Nick read this out on his channel. If you want to hear End Goods, if you preferred like audio book form to reading it, Nick read this whole book out. We should read Slavery and Catholicism, Richard Roscoe Miller, written in 1957. You see, it was actually Catholics. It was the Catholic Archbishop of New York, Bishop Hughes, who actually mobilized the Irish living in the North to refused to fight for the Union Army. You know, and that's how the South ended up actually driving all the way up into Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, because there's high treason going on to weaken the Union to fight to keep slavery intact. You know, the Pope doesn't believe in a free society. He's a fascist dictator. History proves that undeniably. You know, going back over 1,000 years. So I'll just repeat that. The Pope does not believe in freedom. He is a fascist, totalitarian, authoritarian, theocratic dictator. But peace and love, YouTube. Namnast, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace and love.